Hi everyone, welcome back to my top 500 games. We are currently at number 176 and this is Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. This is basically when Sega wanted in on the whole Mario Kart style game, and so they did it with their own characters. So obviously you've got Sonic, Tails and Knuckles and Dr. Robotnik, and you've got all the other Sega characters, like you've got the Samba de Amigo character, and I think you've got Billy Hatchet as well, and other characters from the Jet Set games and Golden Axe and all that. And it's a decent racing game. You do get different weapons as you would expect from a racing game, or rather a kart racing game. But the one thing that stands out to me about this game the most, and the main thing that I always remember, is that this game has so much rank inflation. And if you don't know what rank inflation is, it's basically where you make it easier and easier to get a particular rank or a particular score, that you're having to start naming things differently. So, for example, an A rank in this game is not very good. It's not very good at all. So usually A would be like the best rank, and then possibly S, which is like better than A. Where does that come from originally, by the way? I don't know. I've seen it in quite a lot of games where it goes like E, D, C, B, A, S. Where does S come from? But in this game in particular, it goes from A to S to SS to SSS. So triple S. Like A is like the fourth rank down. That's just stupid. Just go like A, B, C, D, E, F, G or whatever. That makes more sense. Or S, A, B, C, D, E, F. Seems like quite a strange thing to decide. But again, like with other games, I never had this game. I actually had to borrow it from my brother, and I remember trying a few of the different challenge modes, and on some of those challenge mode levels only getting a measly S or a measly A. Like, I can't even do better than an A. That's ridiculously bad. The stupid rank inflation. Number 175 is Eternal Sonata. Okay, now, as far as JRPGs go, this game isn't that good, really. It isn't. Just trust me, it isn't. The way that this game works is that all of the characters are based on musical concepts. So, the main character is Allegretto, and you'll also get characters like Beat and Jazz and Claves and Polka and Salsa. But the way that this game works battle-wise is that battles take place in a arena, and you take turns between each of your characters and you have to move around the arena, and the moment that you take a step, the counter starts going down, and so you have to go up to an enemy and then you press a button, and each button will have an action assigned to it. It might have attack or it might have a particular ability, and this can vary depending on whether you're in darkness or in light. And so you might have areas that are outside, and so they are in light, but if you're under a tree you will start using the dark abilities as opposed to the light abilities. Or you might have a dark area but there's these enemies that illuminate, so when you're next to them you will be in a light area. There's that kind of stuff. And of course you have what you'd expect from an RPG. You have the different dungeons with different layouts and different paths and different treasure chests and stuff scattered all around, and that's nice. What's also interesting is that as you progress through the game, you will gain party levels, although this is something that just happens at specific points in the game where the mechanics will change up a bit. So, for example, you might have one point where suddenly the timer thing starts going down automatically even before you've moved. Or you might get to a point where the abilities on the different button commands are switched around, so you have to keep an eye on which button does what ability. You also have special attacks that you can unlock once you've built up a big combo, and the special attacks are basically big attacks. And so usually what I would do is I would wait until the timer for each character had gone down quite a significant amount, and then when I was in the last fraction of a second or whatever, I would then press the button to do the big animated special attack, because obviously if you do it at the end, the big animation isn't going to take up your time, it's just going to happen. So that's what I tended to do. There's something else that this game did as well, which was pretty stupid. When you gained experience, you gained enough experience to level up, but you never gained more experience than that. At least that's how it was presented. It may have worked around that, but the way that it was presented, it didn't do that. So, for example, say if you need 5,000 experience to level up this character, and then you enter a battle and you defeat all the enemies, and that fight would offer you 7,000 experience. That character will still only get 5,000 experience, and it will still just give them that. And then when they get to the next level, they'll have to re-earn that 2,000 that was from that cut-off point. So say if, in an extreme case, you need one more experience point to level up, and then you defeat this big giant monster or whatever that gives you 20,000, suddenly that's 19,999 experience you're not getting just because you just so happened to only need one to level up between the level that you're at and the level up that you're next going to be. It's stupid when games do that, and I will be mentioning this more later on when games come up with these stupid rules and stupid restrictions for when it comes to EXP intake or how it distributes and how it shares experience amongst the party and stuff. Just rules that aren't made there for a particular reason, they are just there, and it messes up with all the calculations. But yeah, that's Eternal Sonata for you. Number 174 is Astro Tripper. Now, this game was one of the very first games I 100%ed on the PS3, and this is also a game I've heard people speak rather negatively of. The way that this game works is that it's kind of like one of those space shooter type things, apart from instead of having a ship just heading in one direction, you just gotta like move around and shoot. Instead, you'll have this little arena, and you'll have one button to shoot, and you'll have another button to turn around. And when I say turn around, I mean flip the direction of your ship so that you're facing another way, and you'll have to go around and destroy all of these enemies. You have two different weapons that you can switch between. One of them is a weapon that just shoots straight forwards like a normal weapon, and the other weapon that you have these weird two shots in a sort of claw shape. So you won't hit something that's in front of you, but you'll hit something that's like in front of you but to the side a bit. It's really strange, but sometimes you'll come up against targets where they are that relative distance away where you'll want to shoot in that fashion. One thing that always bugged me about this game, and I kind of understand why they did it, but I still find it quite bugging me quite a bit, is that usually with these games you would hold the button down to continuously shooting. Now in this game that still applies, you will continuously shoot, but by doing so your shots will slow down. So you can hold the button down and it'll be like da 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 da, like for every shot it will start slowing down. So if you're just mashing X or whatever button it is over and over again, you will end up shooting faster. It can make the game tricky, but it's also pretty annoying. What I did really like about this game though is this: the challenges that you have to do to get the trophies, well, I'm not going to say really, but they're pretty interesting. For example, the final level, or one of the final levels, you will have all of these giant wheels come in from both sides, from the left and the right, at the top and the bottom, and you can destroy these wheels, and then the wheel that it's kind of connected to will not be able to produce its electric attack or whatever it is. And one of the challenges, you have to defeat all of the enemies on a particular level whilst not destroying any of the wheels, and I really liked that. I found that really interesting and I found it really tricky, but I did it. This would have been, I believe, 2009, around that time. Maybe 2008? I don't think so. Probably 2009. But yeah, that challenge in particular is the one that sticks in my mind, and it was really tricky trying to not destroy any of the wheels and just trying to make sure that I can aim my shots for all the enemies instead. It's a good game and I like it. Number 173 is DMC Devil May Cry, and this is another game that I got free on PS Plus. And to be honest, Devil May Cry as a whole has never appealed to me, and I understand that this is a game that die-hard fans of Devil May Cry generally didn't like. They saw it as like an abomination on the series or whatever, and to be honest, that was a sign of positivity to me, I suppose, because the whole Devil May Cry thing of having different button combinations to do different attacks, and I've gone over this many times, but just the idea of having to press different combinations of buttons to do different attacks and sort of combine that with timing attacks and stuff, I don't know. I would rather supplement that with a game where the information is very clear to you and it's just a case of being able to like get around, or like say like a platformer or something where you've got like an attack button or something like that than I do to these games where it's like square, square, up and triangle does this particular attack, and right and circle, down and triangle does this particular other attack. That is not something I've ever liked. And so people not liking this game, to me, made me thinking, so maybe this game doesn't do that to the extent that I don't like it. And you know what? That's absolutely true. Because the way that this game works is that you'll have two shoulder buttons that will switch you between the light weapons and the dark weapons, so to speak, like the angel and the devil sides of these weapons. And you'll have enemies with different types of shields, like this enemy can only be defeated by angel weapons, or this one can only be defeated by devil weapons. Or you might have flying enemies, so it would be like this enemy you need to grab and pull them towards you, or pull yourself towards them. But if they're flying with a shield and they're also red, then you have to use your angel weapon to get around that. And this is stuff that I really like. And people say, well, it's limiting. But I find by doing that, it's presenting a challenge in such a way that I feel that I am at least competent, I suppose. People say this game is really easy. I didn't find it really easy, to be honest. But also what I really liked about this game, and I believe that this is like a general Capcom thing, although saying that I'm not too familiar with Capcom overall, but I know of examples where Capcom do this thing, where they'll have a game that's not like a large game, but they'll add a lot more content in regards to being able to repeat certain levels, or being able to do New Game Plus, or something like that. And in the case of this game, every difficulty setting has its own state of progress. So you can do something on normal mode and you will have unlocked that thing from normal mode. So for example, you'll have areas where there's a hidden room, and in that room you will find an item that can contribute towards boosting your health, or contribute towards giving you points that you can spend on abilities and stuff. And so you can complete that in normal mode, but then you can go to easy mode and it will still be there. And it also does this whole thing of, well, you can go back to earlier levels using abilities and weapons that you got from later levels to be able to get things that you couldn't get before. So it rewards going back to previous levels and doing all that, and that is something that I really like. And so whilst I did get to a point where I found this game on normal mode started to get a bit too hard, I understand that people think this game is easy, but like I said, I'm not one of those people who can play fighting games or do button combinations really well. And the ability to just say, okay, I'm going to try to get some power-ups on the easy mode levels that I haven't got yet because I've played them on the normal mode, or I might try the early levels of the hard mode, see if I can get some stuff together. I really like that. Number 172 is Little Big Planet. Now, this game was big when it came to promoting the PS3, because I remember at E3, one of the E3s, when they were talking about PS3 sales and Tri-Crescendo was talking about it, they showed this through Little Big Planet. They actually had Sackboy run through a level, so all these little machines came out and showed up all these different charts and stuff, like how well things have sold. And this is a game that I got very shortly after I got my PS3. I got my PS3 near the end of 2008, and I got Little Big Planet in 2008. I got it after Oblivion, which was the first PS3 game I got. And my first PS3 trophy, or rather my first PSN trophy that I ever got, was in Little Big Planet. It was, I think, one for customizing my character. This is a game that has gotten quite a lot of criticism, and a lot of it I do understand, because when you compare this to something like Mario Maker, and I understand there's an age gap there between Little Big Planet and Mario Maker, but when you look at something like a comparison between those two, what you'll find is that what makes Mario Maker more competent, or easier to use, I suppose, is that everything's based on set tiles. You put things in blocks, whereas with Little Big Planet it wasn't such, and it was very physics based rather than tile based. So it was a lot harder for a person to make a level, like go out of their way to make a level and have it work properly. And also you had to account for the floaty jumps and the player's ability to grab onto ledges and the different materials and stuff. But even then, the stuff that you could do, I thought it was rather interesting, even if some of the things were rather floaty, that you couldn't exactly set things up in exactly the right way. There was still enough variety there that it made it interesting. Also, what stood out about this game is that it operated on a 3-layer system, so you could sort of jump in and out of layers, and that's how it got around the whole, platforms and semi-solid platforms and all that. And this was really the game that started off the whole create, play, share mantra that Sony adapted. And I do have some pretty fond memories of this game, of playing on some levels with some people that I knew who used to work in a game shop. In fact, one of them still does work in a game shop, and just trying out the different levels. What was also quite clever about this game as well is that it sort of found a way to mix cooperative play and competitive play. So when you played through a level, you had the competitive play in terms of the points. So at the end, whoever got the most points won the round. But equally, you had cooperative play in how whenever you found something, you all got to keep it. So there'd be areas where it would be like, you need 3 players in order to be able to operate this machine in such a way that you can get to this place and collect this object. And the way it works is you collect objects and then everyone gets the object, and having an object basically means that you can grab the object and put it into a level that you are creating. Or it could be a sticker or something. But you can create your own objects. So you can make like this machine out of the individual parts that you can get in Little Big Planet, and from that create that as an object that people can earn in your level, and then people can just go into the menu and grab that object and put it into their own level. And the idea is pretty genius, and I've got to say that despite the platforming flaws that it definitely does have, this game is a good game, I believe. And I also have nostalgia over the song My Patch, because that was rather prominent in this game as well. If you wanna step on my patch, I bring you down. That one. But moving on. Number 171 is VVVVVV, if that's how you pronounce it. I've also heard it being pronounced as just V, but I call it VVVVVV. And this is a game that my brother really got into, and he did all the speed runs and everything, and he got to a point where he knew this game inside out. But to me, what was the best part of this game was the level editor, the level creator. It's a very simple game, but it has a concept that I believe makes it stand out, and that is that it's a platform game, but instead of jumping, you invert gravity. So when you jump, you'll fly up and you'll turn upside down, and the same the other way around. And so this means that you really have to think about how you're going to get around from place to place. It really changes things up a lot. So for example, if you have a ledge that you want to climb up, you can't just get across it. You have to go up to the roof and then walk across the roof and then drop back down. But of course, if the roof is full of spikes, then you can't really do that. You have to find another way around. And I think it was really clever through that. Also, you had different features, such as you had the different trinkets, which were meant to be like the collectibles that you could find. And I had a lot of fun creating a level in this game where you put the trinkets in certain areas that, you know, you've got to really think about how they're going to navigate around and get to the different areas. And you also have these little bars that will flip gravity when you hit them. So like the vertical ones will allow you to, say for example, you have a roof of spikes on the ceiling, and then you have like a gravity thing that you need to be able to get across a ledge. You can like flip gravity, hit one of these bars so you can land back, or you can have one horizontally so that you can't get past it. And then you've also got things like conveyor belts and floors that disappear when you touch them. Very basic platform stuff, but the level editor and the level creator is what I was really into, and the whole thing of inverting gravity as opposed to jumping really give this game an edge that made you think about things in ways that you generally wouldn't think about them, and that is what I really liked about this game. But I'm going to end this part here, so next time we'll continue on from number 170. I'll see you then, so goodbye for now.